Today I am going to review The Woman in Cabin 10, the Netflix thriller starring Keira Knightley, Guy Pearce, Art Malik, Kaya Scodelario, and Hannah Waddingham. This film is directed by Simon Stone and is based on the New York Times bestseller by the author Ruth Ware. Keira Knightley plays Laura Blacklock, an award-winning journalist who is sent on an assignment to a lavish yacht filled with people of the upper class. One night, she sees a passenger go overboard, and when no one believes her, she risks her life to uncover the truth, and so the solving of the mystery begins. Does this movie meet the high standards you expect from a bestseller adaptation with the big star power of Keira Knightley? This film follows the familiar trope of the underdog hero versus upper class we have seen in movies like Knives Out. So does that mean the trope has been executed in a way that keeps it from being stale? When I was watching this movie, I saw the patterns form like deja vu. For example, Danny Tyler, played by Paul Kai, is an eccentric, rich, middle-aged man who shows up to the party with a young, attractive woman in his arms. Their partnership seemed almost like a copy-paste of the couple from Glass Onion, played by Dave Bautista and Madeline Klein. Even the dialogues between the rich people felt similar. Yes, the character dynamics and the dialogue that you experience is not so refreshing. We have seen this kind of story play out before in movies that executed the trope better. I will explain in further detail why this movie falls short of the high standards you may have expected. If you are wondering whether any of the characters in this movie are memorable, this is what I have got to say. Only Laura Blacklock leaves somewhat of a mark on the viewer, and that's because she resembles the familiar face of Keira Knightley. It's not like you feel truly emotionally invested in these characters. They feel unoriginal and register as forgettable character templates in your head. I believe this strongly about the antagonist as well as another important character aside from Ben Morgan. Speaking of Ben Morgan, who is he and how is he connected to the story? Played by David Agela, this character is understood to be Laura's ex-boyfriend. He is a photographer who also happens to be one of the guests on the yacht. While his shared history with Laura is touched upon during some moments in the film, he does not leave a big impression on the story. This is what happens when you fumble at the potential of exploiting a character like Ben Morgan to make the audience care more about the stakes of the story. Even though the uninteresting depictions of the elite passengers of the yacht failed to immerse you into the story, at least Ben Morgan could have been given a little more focus. He has had a relationship with the protagonist, and he eventually becomes an important character on paper, even if the story does not give us enough reason to truly care about him. If the writers wanted to give us enough reason to truly care about him, they could have made him more of a sidekick to Laura when it comes to solving the mystery. We could have learned more about their shared history too. Their relationship also fits a trope that we have seen before, but it could have been executed without flaws. Here's why I feel the standard of the film does not fly high. For a film that is meant to be a whodunit mystery thriller, curiosity and intrigue are short-lived because certain things are revealed a little too early, leaving little room for both the protagonist and the audience to piece the puzzle together at a more natural, suspenseful pace, the kind that lets the tension build up more gradually. If we step away from movies and think about books, it's a bit like The Hounds of the Baskervilles. I genuinely enjoyed the novel, but even there, the mystery is handled in a way where we are kept in suspense for most of the story, only for the final chapter to suddenly deliver a full exposition that reveals everything at once. In this movie, it feels as though that final chapter arrived far too soon, cutting short the build-up and throwing away the satisfying slow burn. In a confined environment where everyone fits in, what happens when the only outcast becomes the target of gaslighting? The movie explores this dynamic, showing how Laura is deeply affected by the manipulation around her. We are given a glimpse into what it feels like to be placed in a room where you are the only person who is from a different class. The alienation, the subtle dehumanization, and the coldness from those around you. We see how the presence of a power imbalance can make the line between consent and coercion blurry, robbing the agency of the one that is less powerful. A couple other themes that the movie addresses is how acts of heroism can inspire bravery even in life or death moments, and how the state of isolation itself can create a sense of coldness. When it comes to making a statement, sometimes a costume can speak louder than words. It's a visual language that I wish the movie had leaned into a bit more. For someone just passing by and catching a glimpse of the movie screen while while you are watching it, it would probably look like Keira Knightley's character is just part of the social circle of the other passengers. The costumes and makeup could have done more to make the distinction between Laura and the upper class more significant. The only example that comes to my mind is the scene where she has overdressed for dinner. I don't know how else to say it, but the movie has the Netflix look, and for the most part it actually works for the kind of story that it's telling. Overall, I like how the settings contributed to represent the claustrophobic polished world of the upper class. But does the look do enough to create a contrast between Laura's world and the confined elite space? I have to say that it doesn't. Laura's office scenes follow the same muted palette as the elite space. Are you the kind of person that enjoys a mystery thriller that messes with your head, where you realize the truth was staring at you the whole time? Well then, this is where I reveal the movie only gives you a small taste of that, but it's still worth it. Even with just the little dose that we got, I appreciated how this movie uses subtle, almost deceptive imagery to toy with your perception, planting clues right under your nose without you even noticing. If you want me to give you a clearer understanding of the overall image of the movie, this is what I would say. Years from now, when you suddenly remember the movie, the first visual that will materialize in your mind is Keira Knightley as the protagonist of this movie. She delivers what she can with the material, but the film itself leans so heavily on familiar tropes, generic dialogue, and predictable emotional beats that it struggles to leave a lasting impression. Sometimes the lighting itself can transform a story into something more impactful. Nothing is wrong with the lighting here. In fact, it perfectly suits the type of story that is being told. The careful balance of darkness and shadow perfectly represents the coldness and superficiality of the community that Laura Blacklock finds herself in. You might expect the actor movement and blocking to reveal more about the class and tension, but here the film rarely surprises. I wish the divide between the social classes could have been shown more deliberately through the blocking. It could have been more like Parasite, where every placement of the actors and the camera feels intentional and loaded with meaning. Okay, so these aren't exactly groundbreaking facts about the movie, but I still thought that it would be okay to mention them. The rhythm and the pacing of the editing did a decent job in building the tension. The cuts and pacing fit the thriller genre, and the background score had its moments that I enjoyed in a general sense. So my takeaway is that The Woman in Cabin 10 is a thriller that delivers in small doses, but ultimately struggles to leave a lasting impression. Keira Knightley carries the story. I would call this a cozy thriller, and what I mean by that is that it's not too intense or too emotionally heavy or scary, and that's exactly why it works as an entry point for anyone who is new to the thriller genre. If you are usually into lighter films but you want to dip your toes into the thriller genre, then this movie is a decent warm-up. It gives you just enough tension and mystery to get a taste of what's to come as you explore more well-recognized thrillers in your watch list. I think it's fair to say that I have unpacked why this film falls short of the high standards you may have expected. Overall, I would rate this movie a 7 out of 10. Anyway, what did you think of the movie? And if you have read the book, how does it compare? Did you find the same issues there? I would like to hear your thoughts.